to Inside the Circuit, the show that brings you all the latest news and insight from the worlds of Roborace, tech and auto. My name's Rachel Stringer and I'm back in the hot seat for you this evening from my home in London in the UK. And as always, guys, if you want to get in touch and ask us any questions, then please do so. Find us at Roborace on Instagram, Twitter, or leave a comment in whatever box you are watching in, please. And we'll try and answer as many questions as we possibly can. Well, if you are just joining us for the first time and you're wondering what Roborace is all about, then let me tell you, it's the world's first fully autonomous, all-electric racing series, and we're actually halfway through season beta in our championship, which is the last time for our competing teams to dabble with their AI and make it as best as they possibly can, ready for season 1, which is coming your way very soon. But whilst we've actually been having a little bit of pause in action, we've been back on track in a slightly different way. We've been bringing you a new sim racing challenge called Offsprint in Time, and it's pretty cool because it just gives our teams a different challenge to get their heads around. And don't worry, because if you missed it, it happened last week. We'll bring you up to speed on everything that happened later on in the show, because sim racing is actually super important, because in our season beta series, lots of the teams actually develop their racing AIs in our sim, and we're going to actually tell you a little bit more about the sim involved and get our main man, Matt Steele. He's one of the guys behind the sim to chat to us later on in the show as well. But before we get into all of that, there is lots to cover. As always, we're going to bring you up to date on some of the other things that have been happening in the world of electric racing. So let's kick off with some news. Here it is for you right now. Well, for residents in the UK, we've seen panic buying of fuel, haven't we? Due to lots of political reasons that we don't want to dwell on too much today. But what we will say is right now it's paying to be the owner of an electric vehicle. And in electric racing news, the provisional 2022 calendar for Extreme E has been released as well, which is very exciting for all us racing fans. And after the massive success of season 1, we're going to be seeing so much more racing in season 2 in 2022. It's actually going to kick off in Saudi Arabia and it's going to end up in Chile. I'm going to have some more races, of course, in the middle of the season, but those are yet to be decided due to the travel restrictions due to the ongoing pandemic. But actually, the next stage of season 1 kicks off in a couple of weeks' time, and it's going to be in Sardinia in Italy. We're really looking forward to that one. Okay, right, let's continue with Roborace then, because we've got loads going on at Roborace. But before we show you exactly what happened in our Offsprint in Time, our sim racing challenge that took place last week, we wanted you to know a little bit more about the sim and how it came to be, and the genius behind it as well. So we caught up with the project manager at Hive, Matt Steele, a little while ago, and he can explain a little bit more to you right now.
So first of all, Matt, can you please explain what Hive is?
Sure. What Hive is a component-based vehicle simulation platform where we take a bunch of different pieces that are used to simulate a vehicle and a track, and we put them together in all kinds of cool ways.
How important is sim racing for actual kind of real life drivers to, hone their skills and get better at actual racing?
Sim racing is extremely important because it offers us a chance to have cheap seat time, where we can get a lot of time. When you're racing in real life, you have a very limited amount of time on the track. Every lap that you run costs money. It costs money in tires and motor wear, in track time, and all of that. And so you have to have a very rigid, strict program in place when you get out in the car. In sim, you will sometimes have programs in place, but we also use it as an opportunity to try out all sorts of different things. We'll try out different settings on a car, try out different racing lines, try out everything with very little consequences. So yeah, it's a very flexible tool for developing the car and developing the driver.
How do you think our Roborace teams are going to adapt to sim racing? Is it much different to what they've been doing?
No, they've actually been doing this since day one. Our cars are very expensive race cars, and so it's not a great idea to take an untested piece of code and drop it on an expensive vehicle and send it out hurling down a straightaway at 200 miles an hour. So simulation is used to develop the ADS driver, to train it, to learn how the car is going to work and how it's going to behave. And so it allows the teams to have a place to validate their work before it goes on the real car and gets put to the test in the real world.
Where do you see this kind of program going? What's the future of Hive?
Well, we're building out, like I mentioned before, Hive is building out a platform to democratize vehicle simulation. So we're creating a platform that allows users from all over the world to test their ideas and improve those ideas and improve vehicle simulation across all industries, so that everybody can benefit from the collective development that everybody's doing. I think the best outcome that we could have from this event is that the teams will learn something new. That they'll go in and experiment and play and run the event, and they come out the other side with some new insight into their program that they can use to push the development of the real car forward. I'm excited for the event because I'm excited to see how the teams are going to approach doing it in a simulator versus in real life, and see what sort of insights they can gain by having the freedom to experiment more than they're able to do in the real car. So it's going to be exciting to see the teams put it through its paces.
Well, it was great to hear from Matt, and you'll actually be able to see what he's talking about and that sim in all its beauty in a short while. And just well done to all the guys and girls at Hive for getting the sim ready to go racing in such a short space of time as well. But like I mentioned, we had our first ever sim challenge last week. It was called Offsprint in time, and of course we had to have a few rules. They were pretty simple though. The clue was in the name. Time means money, and if you lose all of your time, then you're out of there. The mission is over. The challenge was a 9.55k traffic sprint, where each team was given 10 minutes to upload their software to the ADS and the RMC computer units. Once they were ready and they were downloaded, we gave them 8 minutes on the clock. And the 8 minutes, they were crucial because as soon as mission control said go, that 8-minute clock started to tick down. Okay, and they had to complete the full 10k or so challenge in that allotted time. And if that clock hit 0, then they were out. Mission was over. Each team, they had 2 attempts. It was up to them though if they used both of their attempts. If they had a perfect go in round 1, then they didn't have to, of course, use their second attempt. The winner of the challenge though would be the team at the end of the distance with the most remaining time. Okay, shall we see how they got on? Because 4 out of the 6 teams took part in the challenge. Let's see which one came out on top.
Hi and welcome to Roborace. You are joining us live as we embark on a new, truly global challenge for the first time. This is called Offsprint in time. We have some teams dialing in from all over Europe and the US, and then Roborace themselves are connecting the UK and Russia. Just possibly not as fast as
I've seen a nice
hoped
overtake,
for.
so I'm happy.
Okay, I love that the team's happy. Unfortunately, hit an obstacle there. It says way, but the time,
is over.
unfortunately, is up. The mission is over. Polymove, commiserations there.
In danger of hitting one of the dynamic obstacles as well, so that's another factor. A slightly cleaner sequence of corners there, but they go into the back of another bit of traffic and they almost go off the road, and they are off the road. Oh, ARG, it has all gone wrong, and you can see the reaction of the teams there.
Now we know, okay, we are fast enough for that, and now we can no more investigate the planner. And also the good thing is we are logging all the data and the configuration, and maybe there was some wrong configuration, and we will see that afterwards. So it was okay.
Through the first corner, they're going slowly. That's not a good sign. That probably means they've hit something. They went for a gizmo there though, and that does help them out a little bit more. It just slows down the metaverse a little bit in hitting it anyway, so it's almost a double penalty really. tight right-hander. This is where ARG had their problems earlier on, I think, at this corner. Bit of a delay. They go for a gizmo. Now, that will slow everything down, but they've also hit an obstacle, I think, which is why they slowed down at that point. They need building there a little bit. The fastest part of the circuit is sort of rounded back. Oh, that didn't look right. No, they've stopped. They've stopped. Arrival have stopped.
Guys, really disappointing. Let's talk about the first attempt firstly. Was it something with the ADS? Did it not download correctly? I know it took quite a long time firstly. Yeah, tell me about why you think the ADS wasn't working.
Yeah, as Max already mentioned, we require some specified sequence for launching our software, which is purely done for the vehicles. That's why, yeah, probably we found some misinteraction with our simulator. That's why I think that's the issue.
Let's see if they can get past this tricky section, which has proved to be quite difficult for a lot of the teams. They just hit one of those sideways moving obstacles there, which has meant they've slowed right down, as you can see, but then did just get a glitch. So everything else around them has slowed down by 15 kilometers per hour. And on track, but they've got a glitch. And then they've hit another obstacle. Oh, the team don't know what to make of this. They're laughing and they're going, what is going on? The metaverse is causing all sorts of problems out here. You don't want to be hitting anything if you can help it. Just get those glitches. Ooh, right into that obstacle.
Our speed is not so great because we significantly reduce our performance level, but we are pretty much good with dynamic objects. I think it's great. Yeah, we are slow, but
3.5 minutes.
Looks really nice.
2.5 minutes. Oh, I'm getting a little bit animated. I need to just calm down and just focus like you guys. Get the glitch. No, couldn't quite get it. Looks like 1:48 on the clock, guys. Great job.
It's finished. Good. I think no.
Woo.
Well, I did a little whoo when I was actually broadcasting the show because we thought the teams would possibly find the sim racing a little bit easier than when they go on track at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway circuit for real, but they didn't. Only 2 out of our 4 competing teams actually got a time on the clock. ARG, as you saw, were our winners. They had 2:13.991 left on the clock, and then SIT were the only other team to actually record a time. Unfortunately, it wasn't as good as ARG. Theirs in the end was 1:48.061, which did mean ARG were the winners, but Arrival and Polymove are 2 other teams who are competing. Arrival, if you're a fan of Roborace, they've been around the scene for years. They're very experienced in AI racing, so we'd have expected them to be pretty good out there on the sim race. But again, they seemed to struggle and they weren't very happy, obviously, with their results there. They had a wheel sensor problem was their main issue in their first attempt, and then they exceeded track limits on their second attempt. So a frustrating day for Team Arrival. And then Polymove, they actually didn't calculate. I remember them saying they got stuck behind traffic because obviously there were some ghost cars on track as well. We like to make things a little bit tricky here at Roborace, and they didn't realise that the ghost cars can actually change speeds. So when Polymove got stuck behind that ghost car, they hadn't calculated for that. So they actually sat there for quite a while, like it literally was stuck in traffic. So hopefully next time they'll have an answer to that. And again, a couple of the teams actually struggled downloading their AIs into the sim. We said they get 10 minutes to do that, and a couple of them actually exceeded that time, but we're nice here at Roborace, so we let that count and we let that stand because, again, it's about these teams developing their softwares and their systems so they're ready and raring to go for Season 1 and for Season Beta, which they're currently competing in as well, because, as you guys know, if you have been following Roborace, we're all about developing these racing cars for the future, developing AIs for the future. So in maybe not so distant future, we'll be able to have AR cars on the road in everyday terms, not just, you know, we see them here and there at the moment. But yeah, we'll talk about ARG then. I've got the results back from here. They did actually use, like I mentioned earlier, their 2 attempts. So each team was given 2 attempts for the challenge. They could use both or they could use one. each team, when I asked them, are you going to go for an A and a B chance here? They said, well, we just want to obviously just use our first attempt, but if we have to, we'll use our second. And ARG, our winners, they did have to use both because they just found the first attempt a little bit too tricky. They said it was difficult to overtake and they hit a vehicle and they span off the track. So that wasn't great, but at least it's different from when we go racing at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway circuit. If they hit traffic, we're not going to get any damage, because if you guys, again, have been following our entire season, you may remember what happened at Thruxton. Yeah, that was when our DevBot 2.0, these cars, remember, cost around £850,000. The car went straight into the brick wall at Thruxton at some pretty top speeds as well. So there was a lot of damage there, and so we had to go and use our second car. But of course, in sim racing, that is something we don't have to deal with, of course. Any cars getting trashed like we saw at Thruxton. But ARG were our winners, followed by SIT, and then Arrival and Polymoo had failed attempts. But don't worry, they will get a chance next week to redeem themselves, because that is when we have our second Offsprint in time sim racing challenge. So definitely come and tune in and join us for that next Friday it is as well. But right now, I'm very pleased to say we have one of the members from Team ARG, the winning team, of course. Who? Max, you're joining us. Hi, thank you for joining us. Firstly, congratulations for the Offsprint in time challenge. You guys absolutely smashed it. What were your thoughts post that, and how have you now had a chance to reflect on it? You know, what did you make of your team's result?
First, yeah, thank you for having me. We actually were quite surprised we won the race, because we didn't have the best race ourselves. So when we checked the results and we saw the other team struggling as well, we were quite positively surprised to make it.
Were you also surprised that some of the other teams struggled quite a lot, especially Arrival?
We were actually quite surprised, because they were all doing quite well before. But we think this time the challenge wasn't too easy, and like we said, we struggled ourselves. We didn't have the perfect run. We were lucky in the end a little bit to make it over the finish line. So I think it was a challenge for all of us.
Yeah, you said it was challenging there. What part of, I guess, the sim challenge did you guys find the most difficult to calculate, or for your team to get their head around?
I think there were quite some difficult configurations of objects and ghost cars, and this really brings the planning and the perception to its limit. So sometimes there was this like triple lateral moving object thing, so if you don't get the timing perfect, it's really hard to get it done.
And you guys had to use your 2 attempts as well. For people who didn't tune in, can you remind them exactly what happened in your first attempt and why you had to resort to go again?
So in the first attempt, we got stuck somewhere in like this, like I described, this obstacle configuration, and then we went out of bounds, and then we had to restart the whole configuration. So yeah, it wasn't the best run either. So
I like that you described it like that, because I said you hit a vehicle and you span off the track. So I'm like, well, at least you guys said you just got caught behind an obstacle. So then what have you guys been working on since last week and going into next week when we have our second sim challenge? Is there something in particular you're focusing on for next time out?
First, we were trying to understand like what went wrong, like why didn't it work it out perfectly, like was it a perception issue, was it prediction, planning? So yeah, we're trying to understand first where do we have to improve, and then we try to get. So we're having some guesses. So we think prediction is quite difficult, like I said, for involving ghost cars, involving obstacles. So we try to get some improvement there, and yeah, make it better next time.
Yeah, I mean, how is the sim helping you in general terms as well? Because it must be nice knowing that, you know, you're not going to cause any damage if you do exceed track limits or kind of spin off the track, for example.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's obviously a lot gives us some tolerance in like making errors. So this is pretty helpful, but also like the variety and like this rules you can bring into the game helps us to like further push the stack and really bring it to the limit.
Well, I'm looking again at I think it was your first attempt. You got up to about 180 kilometers per hour, which I think was a pretty decent speed for you guys. Are you going to look to kind of build on that next time, or is that a speed that you think will allow for the accuracy that you need out there?
I mean, we're always trying to get faster as possible we can, but we're actually quite happy with how the controller is working in the planning. So we rather would like to improve our prediction system to deal better with the obstacles and all this like tricky configurations.
Yeah, exactly. How much do you think this is helping, this sim racing challenge, for when you guys do get back out on track, hopefully soon, at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway circuit? I know it's been challenging for us all, right?
Sure. I mean, we all hope going back on the track, but it definitely helps a lot. It brings more practice. We can really like trying to figure out all the small bugs we don't see on the racetrack, or if it's happening on the racetrack, hopefully you already saw it in simulation. So, yeah, definitely helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Let's quickly talk about season beta as well. SIT. They are dominating at the top of the championships. I think they've got like 7,000 plus points or something at the moment. They've been so solid, haven't they, over the last couple of rounds? Did you expect that? And how surprised when they kind of, let's not say failed, but they were just not as good as you last time out?
I mean, everybody can have an off day, so things like this happen, but they definitely, I mean, they do a great job. And like I said, we personally, like after we finished our run, we didn't expect to win, to be honest, because we weren't satisfied with our performance as well. And like you said, we need 2 runs, and the second one was kind of lucky because we just made it over the finish line and then going out of bounds, so it was like a last second thing.
I don't think it's luck. I think your team are awesome, and obviously, you know, such brilliant minds that are able to develop this racing AI. But I'm going to continue with the conversation in terms of how cool is it? Because I sit here talking about it, and I'm, you know, not particularly involved. But how cool is it to know that you are part of possibly changing the future, developing an AI that, you know, is going to drive us around in years to come? Like, for me, that sounds so cool. But you're actually part of a team responsible for hopefully achieving that.
I mean, it's great. We're all happy, and we can join this challenge. It's like you say, I mean, on the one side we're doing autonomous driving, but we really bring it to the limit. Like, you can't go any faster. If the stack works here, it can work in a lot of situations. It's pretty cool, and we're all happy to be part of Roborace, and yeah.
I love that we have ghost cars as well, because that makes it, for me, even more realistic. It's literally like, we called it traffic sprint, didn't we? It's like you're stuck in traffic on the way home from work and you're trying to navigate these ghost cars. Obviously, you guys are competing next week. Are you going to win again? What's the goal?
Hopefully. I mean, we're always aiming to win. So if we are getting done, or if we're fixing this prediction issues I was describing earlier, yeah, we try our best and we hopefully can win.
I'm just putting the pressure on you there. I mean, you're top of the leaderboard, aren't you, in our Offsprint in Time Challenge. Team ARG have got to do the business again next Friday. I'm going to hold you guys accountable. Max, thank you very much for joining us, and I'll see you next Friday.
Thank you. Yeah, see you next week.
Thank you. See you next week. There we go. Right, well, it's about all we have time for this week's Inside the Circuit, but we will be back on October the 14th. But in the meantime, tune into Roborace channels next Thursday, October the 7th, for our next instalment of Electro Bytes, the show that brings you all the latest from the weird and the wonderful world of tech. As always, please do stay connected. You can always get in touch with us on the Roborace Twitch channel, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. We are here for you to ask us any questions you may have, and we'll try and answer them. I'm sure after you heard from Max there from Team ARG, you'll have loads of questions about our sim racing challenge, because it was awesome. So tune in next week to watch our next installment. But like I mentioned, that is it from tonight's show. We really hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Good night.